the Aunty and Brain Tumours Talk Show on podcast.
Hello, my name is Claire and I have a sphenoid wing meningioma. So back in early 2020, I was told by my cousin, who's a paramedic, advanced paramedic. We were out for tea somewhere and she spotted that I had a bit of swelling above my right eye. And she said, "What's that? You know, have you had it looked at?" And I said, no, it'll be something or nothing. So she said, "No, get to the doctors, have it looked at." And this was all during the first year of COVID. So, yeah, making an appointment was hard work. Eventually got to see a doctor who sent me for blood tests. They couldn't fathom out what it was. They thought, "Oh, we'll test you for thyroid issues and all that sort of thing." Blood test came back clear. So they sent me off to the ophthalmic surgeon, should I say, a specialist. He had a look, did the usual eye test, field vision and OCT scan at the back of the eye. He didn't really see anything, but he suggested me having more blood tests, a CT scan. So that was all eventually arranged, cancelled, rearranged, due to COVID and getting appointments to be able to go into a hospital with lockdowns and all that sort of thing to contend with. Travelling here, there and everywhere for all these appointments, weeks and weeks and weeks. I seemed to wait. It felt like forever. The scan result came back and I received a voicemail. I was at work just to say we've found a lesion and we want to do more investigations. So basically, again, more weeks went by. I was sent for an MRI scan and I was referred to who is my brain surgeon, Mr. Alaladi. So I was referred to him and he arranged for an MRI scan. A couple of weeks after that scan, I had a telephone consultation arranged and it was actually whilst I was at work. So I thought there's going to, it'll be nothing. Anyway, had the telephone consultation and was told over the phone that I had quite a large brain tumour. He didn't think it was cancer looking at it, but it was quite big and he was worried that what started as a few headaches and a bit of swelling above the eye, he was worried that it was going to start causing seizures and things like that, which I'd never had before at this point. So he was really worried about it and he ended up getting me into surgery within probably 3 weeks. So I found that out at work. It totally floored me. I didn't know what to do. I ended up going home not long after that. My colleague who I was in with said, just go home. And I knew that I needed to tell my parents. I had to go and tell them and break the news to them. And nobody believed me. My dad's words were, you're joking, aren't you? And no, Dad, I'm not. I wish I was. I wouldn't joke about something like that. So that was tough, getting it to sink in. I don't think it hit me straight away. I didn't get upset or anything straight away, but yeah, it took the talking to people, talking to my sister who lives a good 2.5 hours up north away from me, talking to her about it. It were that was bringing the emotions out, and dreading what was to come with the surgery and things. I had 2 surgeries in 1 week, and so on the Monday I went in for something called an embolisation to prevent any bleeding when cutting all the vessels and things like that in your head. They cut a small incision in your groin, and then they work all the way up to your brain with a little tiny wire whilst you're under X-ray conditions, and then they cut off the blood supply around the tumour. Just a few days later, it was actually bonfire night 2020, I had the craniotomies to remove what they could of the tumour. There was never any promise of getting rid of all the tumour because where it is, it's wrapped around my optic nerve. And so it had just been too dangerous to do that. So that was that surgery. Then it was just a case of following up afterwards with the usual scans. So the scan took place a few weeks after surgery, after recovery, and they were happy that it was still at the same size as it was when they did the surgery. So all good. Then 6 months after that, I thought that was it, job done. The tumour was just going to remain as it was. It wasn't going to grow and all that sort of thing. 6 months later, I was just about to get my driving licence. A week before I was due to get that back, I suffered a seizure. It was a full-on unconscious seizure. I was rushed to hospital, kept in for a few days, and that's when I was first put on my anti-seizure medication, which I've now had it doubled, so I'm now on double dose. Thought it might have been down to the tumour regrowing. So that was in 2021. I've had 6 weeks of radiotherapy, which was, well, it's amazing what they did, you know, and we had high hopes that it was going to shrink things down, but it was quite horrific to go through with the mask. Don't know why I've kept it, but yeah, there we go. So for me, MRI scans are bad enough, and I have, you know, had quite a few of those over the past few years. MRI scanners, I have to put an eye patch on and everything so that I don't see when they put the cage around your face. So to go and have radiotherapy where you are literally pinned to the bed by your head, I suffer quite bad with anxiety, bit of depression, PTSD, but it's all come about this past few years because of all this. But yeah, for me, getting through anything like that, claustrophobia, specifically the radiotherapy part of it, I really had to concentrate on breathing and not letting it run away with me, because I was going to go into a full-on panic attack if I did. I've been having therapy for probably 18 months now at my local hospice, actually, Pendleside Hospice. They're amazing. I was having alternative therapies there to help with the stress and anxiety, which really helped. So reflexology, back massages, Reiki. So I was having that, but I also talked to a psychotherapist there as well. And I've been seeing her for probably at least 18 months. You know, she put me at ease, and I've actually had a session with her tonight after work, you know, and we've had a good catch up on recent events and things like that. And it does help even just to talk, because I've tried with other counsellors before, things such as cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, and that works for a bit, but it's not a forever solution to me. So I find it better to talk. So then back end of 2023, after going back to normal 12 monthly scans, my scan results came back that it showed a little sign of reducing down. So we thought, fantastic, that's the best news ever. But as you may know, if you've had it yourself, anybody, there's a lot of risks for the other tissue around the tumour. So it's not just hitting the tumour itself. So I was told that where my tumour is, there's likelihood that my hormones would be affected because it was going to hit the pituitary gland. So it could have potentially brought me into an early menopause. I think I'm actually going through the perimenopause at the moment. So yeah, I don't know whether that's been sped up or not. I'm 43 at the moment. So all of that's kind of going on, right into 23. The following 2024, I was away on holiday in the July, and I had a few rough days, not feeling myself, headaches, lethargic, weak, and things like that. And my right eye was really dry all the time, so I was having to put oils and ointments and things in that. It got to the point round about August time, I was starting to get double vision in my right eye, and my eye was really starting to close on itself. So I went to the doctors. They sent me for an eye test. That nothing showed up on the eye test. They gave me more eye drops. All of that was going on. I was speaking to my specialist nurse who works with my surgeon, and then because I was so worried, I was speaking to her on a pretty much daily basis, working myself into panic attacks and things like that. They eventually arranged for an early MRI scan, earlier than my usual annual one. A month earlier, they brought it forward to August instead of September last year. That scan came back showing that the tumour had significantly grown and had infiltrated quite a lot more of the healthy tissue and bone structure. So I was booked in for more surgery, basically, which took place at the end of October last year. Then just 2 months later, I went in for my post-surgery MRI scan, and I was called probably a couple of weeks after the scan to be told that there were signs of necrosis, which I think is like almost like an infection, dying of cells, regenerating cells and things like that. But it was only last week that I actually got to meet my surgeon when he told me that the tumour has grown back in that short space of time. So 2 months after my surgery, it had already grown back. All my symptoms none of my symptoms have got any better. In fact, I feel like they may be getting a bit worse. So that's that. He's not keen on doing any more surgery. Radiotherapy is not an option. More radiotherapy, should I say, is not an option. So the next day, so last Friday, I went to see the professor, the neuro-oncologist, and she said there might be, but I've not got to get my hopes up, there might be the chance of having a clinical trial. There are 2 different clinical trials that might work, but obviously no promises, in the hopes that it attacks the tumour or, keeps it stable, if you will. So I'm waiting to hear results back from that. I gave a blood test on Friday last week, and I now have an appointment to go back to speak to them on the phone, on a telephone consultation, just to see what my blood results are and whether one of these trials is going to be an option for me. So that's where we currently are. I'm kind of in the waiting game, which, you'll all be used to. It's that anxiety whilst you're waiting to find things out all the time. It always seemed like a wait. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. If somebody else is going through the same as what I am, there's so many unanswered questions. It's unbelievable. I'd just tell you to not try your hardest not to Google things, because you will just spiral. It's so easy to Google things and not get without the understanding of the explanation or the answer to it. There's so many different answers to so many different questions. It's a minefield. Try your hardest. What one thing I am, or I try my hardest to be, is positive. I try to manifest health, Something that I find makes a huge difference to me. I've always been into health and fitness. I've always looked after myself. I barely drink. I've never smoked or anything like that. But yeah, health, outdoors, running, gym, lifting weights, all that, going out, walking, hugging trees, fresh air. It really helps with mental health, and it helps with, recovery from surgery, other treatments that you might be having. And I know it's really hard at the time to find the strength to do that. But I find that it's really helped me, and it's helped me recover quicker. My surgeon is always kind of commenting on how quick I recover after surgeries. I probably go back to the gym and go back to work and things like that sooner than I should. But for me, I feel better for it mentally and physically. My last surgery was at the end of October 2024, and I've only just started going back to the gym, and I've gone back when my surgeon has told me that I can go back, because I like to lift weight. It's good for mental and physical health and recovery. So that's helped me, and I think it would help so many other people. Something that also helped me get up. It was reason to get up, gave me reason to get up, was the fact that I've got 2 dogs. And in fact, during the majority of all these treatments and things, I had 4 dogs at one point, but sadly, they've all gone now. But I do still have 2 dogs, 2 big dogs. A Dog de Bordeaux crossed with a Rottweiler and a Bull Lurcher. And the Bull Lurcher I canny cross. I haven't done for a while because of surgery and things, but I go kind of cross-country running with him. And Safi is the big brute. And obviously they give me a major reason to get up in the morning and get out with them. And that's another reason, another opportunity to get out in the countryside and hug a few trees and speak to the birds and the other wildlife that are out there, as well as having a chat with the dogs. So yeah, that really helps me mentally and physically. And I also feel that if I do have a down day, or if I kind of feel like they're therapy dogs, but without the title, because if ever there is a point that I'm getting a bit down, they're so intuitive. They do come and instigate cuddles and things like that. So yeah, for me, the dogs have really helped as well. The one that's been my rock is my best friend Suzanne, who I've known since we were this big. She moved in with me at the start of all this because of lockdown. I was told that I'd have to self-isolate for 2 weeks before surgery, so that would have meant me being on my own at home for 2 weeks before surgery. So she left her house empty and moved in with me, and she's been with me the whole time throughout this whole journey. She takes me to appointments because I can't drive now. She comes into the appointments with me, so because my memory's so bad now, she takes in and retains all the information, and she makes notes because she can write a lot quicker than I can. So I'd say Suzanne is the biggest one to thank. She's also been there when I've had seizures and things like that, and she's helped get me the ambulance and all that sort of thing. But the surgeons and the team and the neuro-oncologists at Christie, I'm also seeing a neuro-ophthalmologist to do with the eye health. So they're all amazing. But yeah, I can't thank people enough. What I would say is, if you start having any funny symptoms that you're not used to, go and get yourself booked in to see a doctor, and don't stop until you actually get to see somebody. And if you're still not happy with that result, ask to see somebody else. Also, naming my tumour was helpful, and I named mine after a rather politically, how do I say it politically correct? Not a nice man, shall we say, if you can call him that. A former colleague, a former boss's son, narcissistic and all the rest of it. But anyway, my negative thing in my head is named after a boy called Lee. And yeah, I just thought something so evil inside my head suits that name. So apologies to any nice Lees out there. This one, yeah, got that, yeah.
This is the Aunty and Brain Tumours talk show. It's a show full of informative chat and inspirational messages. The Aunty and Brain Tumours talk show on podcast.